Hello and welcome to Dr. Shiny Tarot. This is a monthly reading for the month of December, and this one is for Pisces. And we'll go ahead and get started for my Pisces friends. Okay. Let's move these down a little bit here. Okay, all right. All right. Okay. So, what we have for your current situation is the Ace of Wands. So, this is a sort of a new idea or a new, not necessarily an idea because that's more the swords, but this is a new path of action, a sort of a spark, a possibility, something that kind of draws you into wanting to try something, to do something new. So there's a new opportunity that you're seeing here. Something needs to be done, and it's not the same old business. This is something that has come almost seemingly out of nowhere, like a spark of inspiration, right? So what's crossing you or influencing you is this Eight of Cups, which is kind of a withdrawal, being away from it all, kind of just getting kind of going back in your shell and not being around people or something. So there's a couple ways to interpret this. One of them would be that this inspiration has come to you through this sort of solitude or getting away from the situation after you've kind of gotten away from it and you understand with a fresh perspective something about this situation that you really didn't understand before. Now there's kind of a new feeling of, okay, we can accomplish this. There's a solution here. There's something possible here. And so the other type of explanation would be that there's a new action that is sort of required, or there's something that's been going on around you, and you're kind of just like withdrawing from that. You're being a little bit like, I'll procrastinate. I'll do it tomorrow. So two major kind of ways that you can interpret this. Since this is a general reading, I'll leave that to you, which one of those is more applicable. But either way, what you're moving away from is this Queen of Cups. So this is a little bit more of it tends to be a kind of like emotionally manipulative person, or somebody who lets her emotions either get the best of her or she just kind of lacks them altogether, lacks empathy, doesn't really. And so it's kind of a command of emotions, right? But you can either in the upright be commanding your own emotions and have a good balance, and this water is not up over her or anything, or you can kind of have the opposite of having somebody who kind of plays with other people's emotions and doesn't really empathize with how they feel and is kind of a little bit manipulative. So you're moving away from this energy. So either and again, I try to keep these things a little bit vague because it is a general reading and I want it to be applicable to multiple people and not just one single person, right? But the general idea here is that you're moving away from either this emotionally manipulative person, or you're moving away from being that person. You're going the other direction. You're kind of saying, okay, that didn't work out quite so well, and I'm now leaving that energy behind and I'm moving on to something else. And what you're moving toward here is the Six of Cups. So Six of Cups is a very like nostalgic card, and I think this one shows it pretty well. There's this guy sitting here thinking about how when he was a little kid, he had this puppy, and here's this dog now. I don't know if it's the same dog. I'd like to think it is. That reminds him of this childhood time, and it's like thinking back on all the good memories. And so that's a much more positive direction that you are headed toward. It could be, we've just had a holiday weekend and everything. So, if you're looking at this later in the month, going through the holidays, going through Thanksgiving and all that has a way of kind of like letting you get a glimpse of what's really important, kind of refreshing your perspective instead of being quite so, cutthroat or a shark, so to speak, in the business world, or lacking empathy with what people are concerned about. You're now kind of understanding why we do what we do and why things matter to others, and you have this sort of fresh perspective of, or you're moving toward this fresh perspective of getting with what other people are concerned about, rather than, just feeling like it's just a game, or their emotions are not important or valid, or whatever that is. So that's the direction you're moving toward. What you have for your foundation is the Ten of Swords in the reverse. The foundation card kind of represents the overall lesson that's being taught here, or what's going on, from the subconscious that's calling this experience up. And the only reason for this experience to be called up is to teach you something, right? So Ten of Swords typically represents a sort of, it could be almost like an anxiety, but it's, when you get to the Ten of Swords, so Nine of Swords is really anxiety, just pure anxiety. But when you get to the Ten of Swords, it's kind of also more of like loss, or feeling like things are at the darkest that they could possibly be. Just feeling like giving it all up. Now there's a kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, where you kind of recognize that there's something else that happens after that you move on to a new life. And in a way, letting go of something that's been very, very important to you is kind of like a release or a freedom, that kind of thing. But so the foundation of this is remembering that, of sort of, through one way or another, if it's not you, it's that you need to be able to teach people that there is this sort of light at the end of the tunnel, that just because things don't go one particular way, you have to be able to sort of carry on to the next task or the next thing effectively, with some tact, and that's what kind of keeps the ball moving in a positive direction. So foundation is essentially, either you need to learn that, or you need to be reminded of it so that you can teach other people that. I don't know if you're in more of like a leadership position where you're influencing others, but there is definitely a reason for you to be remembering this particular lesson of sort of like moving on. And you can tell even from the artwork here, there's definitely some feels going on there, but she keeps moving, and the birds also are in motion, and they're just kind of marching on with a somber yet steady pace. So help people realize that getting through things is important, and not to just to not get down about things not working out a particular way, but to keep moving, right? To keep up the fight, to stay the course. So what's on your mind is this Ace of Pentacles. This is a new financial opportunity. This is something that could possibly grow into something very big, in a real physical financial type of way, a manifestation in the realm of wealth, and that type of thing. So in the picture here, it looks like a seed that's just waiting to sprout roots. It just needs a fertile environment for you to put it into. So this is probably kind of like this seed that you can plant. You have the opportunity to organize things around you in a way that leads to this success, this financial success, this well-being. And so it's about learning the right things to kind of drive home with people or with yourself, to really maintain that positive mindset, which kind of carries you forward instead of getting down, or trying to escape from it, or trying to just get away from it. Dive head into it, and feel what people are feeling, and sort of be with them instead of withdrawing or trying to escape from the situation. So your advice for the current situation is this Three of Wands. So what this means is, there's This one comes up a lot recently, and it has this energy. It's very specific in my mind, where whenever you're gonna do something, like she's gonna go out and surf, right? But she's not out there surfing just yet, and she's not sitting on the couch or thinking about surfing. She has made the initial steps, but see, a lot of times this is a great card because it draws attention to a subtlety that a lot of people ignore. And that is, it's not as simple as either you're doing something or you're not doing something. Very, very often there are some intermediary steps which have to be accomplished in order to do something. So this is kind of a reminder of that energy in my mind. Very specifically, it shows you it shows you to focus on these little things, these little steps, to not really be tied into the idea of, okay, well, I either get what I want or I don't get what I want, or I accomplish it or I don't. The question is, are you working toward getting what you want? Is everything still going in the direction that you want it to? Are you pushing things in that direction, or are you kind of falling back on that? Or are you kind of like giving up on your idea? Because she's definitely going to go out there and surf those waves. She looks very determined, right? So your advice for the current situation is to remember that this is where you are, where you're still in this process of getting there. So and that's a very good thing. You should, in a way, you should pat yourself on the back for that, even alone, if you're feeling discouraged, because at least you've done something. At least you're off the couch. At least you're going. You're on the way. So that's enough a lot of times. It doesn't have to be accomplished right here, right now. Learning to be okay with that sort of delayed gratification is a very powerful asset, right? So the environment is justice in the reverse. So it could be here that somebody around you or some people around you do not feel like justice has been really carried out, or that justice has worked. I don't want to say in their favor, because it's as though they're not really getting what they should have got. They're not getting what they deserved, and they're aware of it. They know about it, and it's this feeling of having been wronged, or things not going right. So perhaps they're upset about certain local mandates or something. Mask mandates have been a big thing recently, so it could be that a lot of people around you are upset about that kind of thing, or people close to you, and that's a more general meaning of this. But it could be more specific, that somebody really feels like they did not that justice is not being served, that it's not happening the way that it's supposed to, that they're being wronged in some particular kind of way. So, either way, it could be that. The environment card always is a little bit more vague, because it's kind of showing you the outside energies that encapsulate this situation. And when you're on the inside of the situation, it's a little bit harder to see what's going on out there, right? So sometimes this just draws your attention to the periphery of other things that are going on around you, and helps you to be aware that there is some other kind of mindset at work here that is perhaps irritating people, or leading you into some of these situations that are a little bit more difficult. So having a little bit of sympathy for what's going on in the environment just kind of lubricates the situation, if you know what I mean. It just makes it a little easier. So what your fears card is the Nine of Cups in the reverse. Nine of Cups generally has like a very, very happy, and I think this one's interesting in this particular deck, because, and I know it's kind of hard to see with this lighting, but she's like jumping on a treasure chest. So, and that has like a riches and physical, almost a coins energy to it. But the Nine of Cups is very much like that, because this is a type of happiness, which is revolved around like a good balance of things working out in life. It's not just one particular thing that makes you happy, but there's a sort of well-rounded and abundant emotional wellness that comes from, success. And so in the reverse, this means that you're kind of feeling not, or you're fearing not feeling successful, is how I would put it. You're kind of, you don't want to feel as though, or you're afraid of failure in a way. You're afraid of things not working out the right way, or not achieving that sort of good, carrot at the end of the stick, which is supposed to be leading you on. And that's probably one of the most straightforward fears that I've seen this month. So it's pretty obvious why you would not want to fail. But failure also is not something to be completely avoided, because a lot of times you learn quite a bit more from your failures than you do from your successes. Ideally, we would like to not have to fail in order to learn. But the bright side of it is that when you do fail, it's a lot easier to learn. You learn it a lot more thoroughly, and it just sticks with you for a little bit longer, right? So overall message, or where you're headed, is this Five of Swords. Five of Swords represents sort of conflicting thoughts a lot of times. So it could be that, and this to me doesn't necessarily fit into the overall theme of what's going on here, except if I were to think that you're headed back into a situation now, from this mindset of like kind of understanding what's important. You're headed back into a situation where like there's a conflicting idea for what you want and what somebody else wants, and you're going to have to navigate that space. You're going to have to navigate that situation, and all of this has been advice as to how you navigate through that situation. Simply understanding where another person is coming from and acknowledging their concerns and sort of putting their mind at ease is going to be a way to help you through that sort of conflict. And the Five of Swords, this is probably one of the most conflicted cards in the deck, and a lot of times it does indicate more of an inner conflict. The creator of this deck focuses on the tarot as a form of like self-accountability and meditation. So in this particular case, it looks like this guy is very innerly conflicted. But in a lot of other decks, this one I would say has like the highest implication with like a battle or a fight with somebody else, or just like a struggle, a battle of minds, a battle of wits. So this is an adversarial type of an energy. So this is what you're kind of headed to in the long run, which means that you're probably going to have to sort of just maintain all of these different lessons that we've talked about to sort of keep the conversation even and to not let it, get too heated or spiraled out of control. So just remember your common interests and remember the reason you do what you do, and that'll help you understand why somebody else does what they do, So I think that's a pretty good place to stop for this one. I think it's a pretty good message overall. Please let me know in the comments what you think about this, if you enjoyed it or if it resonated. And if you like the reading, please subscribe. I have all kinds of readings coming out all the time for full moons and various things like that, in addition to these monthly readings. But until next time, this has been Dr. Shiny, and thank you for watching.